Welcome, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We have a great episode tonight. Lightworker, tarot card reader, psychic medium, Nicole Guillaume is with us. Coming up next. All right, everybody, welcome back to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. I'm author and ghost historian Mike Ricksecker. With me, as always, is Vanessa Hogel. And down in the chat room is our chat shenanigator, Shauna, shaking everything up down there. Tonight, we have a special treat. We have Nicole Guillaume with us. And just to give you a little bit of information about her, she is a psychic medium tarot card reader. She's also the owner of Guiding Echoes, a YouTube channel here on, YouTube. And is a best-selling author of the Lightworker's Guide to the Pendulum. So that'll be really interesting. I'm going to have to grab my pendulum, which I forgot to grab before the show. A little bit more background. After meeting her spirit guides, practicing meditation, and learning how to read tarot, her gifts of psychic mediumship began to unfold. Since then, Nicole has helped thousands of people to connect with their loved ones on the other side, and she has also used her intuition to help people find guidance to the challenges they face in their own lives. Got a couple links below to her website, her YouTube channel, and all that. Check that stuff out after the show. Nicole, welcome. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've already had a shit ton of fun.
Yeah, just in just before the show even started, it's like, guys, we got to go live. So
it was fun.
Oh, absolutely. So Nicole, I kind of gave everybody the brief bio, but tell us a little bit more about yourself, how you kind of got into all this, and what you've been doing at Guiding Echoes.
All right, so the way that I became a psychic medium is unlike any story I've ever heard before. So I wasn't in a car accident. I wasn't really born with the gift. Well, I think I was, but anyways. So what ended up happening was a few years ago, my boyfriend and I actually wanted to decorate our home for Halloween. And I thought it would be really fun to decorate our front yard to look like a seance. And so I was like, well, I should get a crystal ball. And I thought that before I looked up the price of crystal balls. It was like, oh, hell no. And started looking at different tarot cards. So I went on Amazon looking for the perfect deck that I could use for decorations for this little seance scene I was going to create in our front yard. And I ended up finding this one deck called the Wizard's Tarot, and it was beautiful. The artwork was just gorgeous, and there was just something about it. Even just looking at the pictures on Amazon, it just really called to me. And but it was $30, and I'm kind of cheap, and I didn't want to spend that much on tarot cards that I was going to use as decorations. So I put it on my little wish list, and that deck just haunted me for the rest of the night. So I think it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I finally got up, bought the deck, and was able to go back to sleep. And a week later it arrives, and I was so excited. So I'm looking at the cards, and I'm just like, I cannot use these as decorations. They are too beautiful, and I felt like I needed to protect them. It was the weirdest thing. So the thought of them getting wet or some kid sneezing on them, I just wasn't having them. I just can't. So my boyfriend's like, well, what are you going to do with them? And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to learn how to read them. So I ended up buying a few tarot books and joined this online course and learned how to read them, and had just a natural talent for it, and became the teacher's pet because I kind of have that personality. And and after I started practicing with different people, I was like, well, I wonder if I can do this as a side business and do, go to different fairs and try it out. And I did that, and the response that I got was really good. And after just a few months of working with tarot, as I started working with clients, spirits started coming in. And at first I didn't really understand what was happening. And there was one instance in particular that really just stands out in my mind. And that was this is what I knew I was a medium, and this wasn't some type of fluke. So I was reading for this one lady, and as I was going through her cards, I felt and saw two men, in their 20s come in, and one of them was wearing a hoodie. And he was crying. He was really upset. And the other guy, good looking guy, had his arm around the guy in the hoodie and was telling him, it's okay. Everything's fine. No one's mad at you. So I'm trying to read the cards and I'm very distracted by this situation that's happening in front of me that, of course, no one else can see. And so finally I stop and I'm like, I have two gentlemen here. They appear to be in their 20s, and I tell her what I'm looking at, and her face just drops and she goes pale. And she's like, I know exactly who these people are. And she went on to explain that in college, she had this really good friend, and he had been driving and got into a car accident with his other friend who had been in the passenger side. And I don't remember the exact story, but anyways, ended up in a car accident and killed them both.
Oh.
And so after all this time, the guy in the hoodie was the one who was driving, and so he'd been carrying this guilt and this regret all this time. And so the woman I was reading for, she's like, well, tell him that everyone's fine, like no one blames him for everything, no one, and so she starts talking to him, and I could just feel his energy lighten, and I could see him like kind of do one of these numbers, wiping his nose with the sleeve, and just the same thing that we do when we're alive, I guess, and we're trying to collect ourselves. And so to see him become this very heartfelt, grieving, like hurt person, to within just a few minutes like being okay with everything and understanding he was still loved. Like he was still loved. No one blamed him for this. And to just see the transformation that really happened between the three of them was incredible, because 3 souls were healed that day. And none of that was supposed to happen because I didn't know I was a psychic medium. So after that, I was like, okay, I stumbled onto something, like there's something here. And once that happened, I started learning how to develop the psychic mediumship aspect more. And that, I mean, it's not easy. Anyone who's learned they were a medium and decided to start developing that, it's a tough journey. It really is. But then you get to a certain point where you're like, oh, okay, I can do this. This is great, And so that's really how that whole journey started. So if I had never decided to decorate my house as a seance, I might never have started guiding echoes. Like all of this might have never happened. So it all started because I was going to decorate my house for Halloween.
You didn't decide that. That was decided for you.
It was, yeah. Well, especially with the way that those cards were calling me. There's no other way to explain it. Like I was obsessing over them until I bought them. So.
See, I'm the cheap gal. I do Rider Waite deck. You didn't see the pictures, but I got you, girl. That is my go-to deck. It has never steered me wrong, but my reasons are different. I'm afraid that I'll be set aside by the pretty. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm like, it's a sparkly, I don't want to be, I don't want to not be able to do what I do because I'm looking at how beautiful they are, Yeah. I have a fairy oracle deck that I won't even use because it's too pretty. And I'm just funny. Like, no, give me my standard right away. Just I'm that girl. I'm that flip-flop jeans short girl.
Yeah.
But I love your journey. I love the fact that your story is different. But it was decided long before you decided to do that.
It was no doubt about it. Well, but if you ever get the chance to look at the Wizard's Tarot, I highly recommend checking it out. The way that she changed some of the major arcana is just brilliant.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. I have a place here in town that I bet has it. Why did you ignore situations that would have led you to this path sooner?
That's a great question. There's 2 parts to it. One of them is that I grew up with Christian fundamentalists, and I was homeschooled on top of it. So that was really a cult-like setting.
Yeah.
So even though I grew up with an interest in mediumship and psychic things, it was very much frowned upon growing up. And so my parents believed anything outside of the Bible was demonic. So that was a really fun atmosphere to grow up in, let me tell you. So there was that. And then in my 20s, was just, I guess, kind of doing this dance with spirituality, trying to figure out what I believed in. And, you know, I tried the atheist thing, but that didn't work because I believe in paranormal and supernatural stuff. So there was this time frame of just trying to figure myself out, you know. Then went to a church for a while, and they were also fundamentalists, so that clearly that didn't work out. And then later on in my late 20s, ended up with my boyfriend, who I mentioned in that story. But that was an emotionally abusive thing, and he didn't believe in psychic or spiritual stuff either. So even when I started reading tarot, it's really fascinating that he was supportive of that, because everything that followed afterwards, he was just like closed-minded, and just it was interesting.
I've been there.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun.
No,
breaking free is fun.
Breaking free is amazing.
Yeah,
I went from being the sought after, coveted witch to within 6 months, you know, you're going to burn in hell for that. And that was the person who claimed to love me the most.
Yeah.
So I understand. And I wish people would understand what a toll that takes on you psychologically until you figure yourself out. You question your own sanity. You question your own, where you're going to be in the hereafter. You question everything because of a single person who's supposed to love you's opinion.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then it's magnified when you get that from your family too, and like other friends. And it's just, so you have all these toxic messages working against you, and inside it doesn't feel right. Like, you know, you don't resonate with it. You know, you don't believe that message, but at the same time, fear is a very, very powerful force. And, you know, that's why so many organized religions can become dangerous very quickly, because there's the fear factor. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Good on you, honey.
We got a couple of super chats down here, just real quick, guys. We have Trucker David Y.
I forgot you were here.
Yeah. How you doing? All right. So we have a $2 super chat from David Y. He says Vanessa flips a card and shiny. And then and then Dawn, a $5 super chat, says feeling spooky with a bunch of ghost emojis. So and we also have a question for Nicole from Brandy Starleaper. She asks, Nicole, would you say that the cards called you in a way?
Absolutely. Because I looked at so many different cards before that one just stood out, and I kept going back to it. I just became obsessed with it like that, and no other deck called to me the way that one does. So I kind of developed this philosophy, you know. In Harry Potter, the guy at the wand shop tells Harry Potter the wand chooses the wizard. I think it's the same thing with tarot.
You know, and I have to agree with that. I know nobody really knows me as doing these sorts of things, but I do look into it. And I do have my own tarot deck, and it is a ghost-themed tarot deck. And Shauna will tell you down in the chat, we would go into It's Raining Zen, our local metaphysical shop, and I would go over there by the cards and kind of poke around, because I mean, I think a lot of the artwork on those cards are absolutely beautiful. And one day they just happened to have that deck there, and I was just like, oh, I have to have it. I don't draw them very much. The last time I drew it, I had a really fantastic draw, and so I just haven't touched it since, because I don't want to mess it up.
Well, go get him. I want to ask you some questions.
Oh my gosh.
Right? He's slowly kicking open the door of the broom closet.
Yeah.
He's inching.
Well, and I did reach over, because it was over on the table there, the pendulum, tiger's eye. So I know you do a lot of work with pendulums too. So I do want to get into that as well. And so another one that I, just a few times I've taken it out and played around with it. But
I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank you.
Mine is made of ash.
Oh, interesting.
Of ash wood. Yes. With a skull on the anchor end of it. Ooh. It's over there in my suitcase, my pendulum.
So, Nicole, what are we doing with the pendulums?
What are we doing with them?
What are we doing with the pendulums? I mean, are we trying to communicate? Are we just trying to tap into energy? What are we trying to do with the
Well, I don't know what you're personally doing with them. You can use them for so many different things. You can balance your chakras. You can actually heal physical symptoms that you have with them. You can get in touch with your higher self. You can learn, well, for example, if you realize that you might have allergies to specific foods, but you can't figure out which ones they are. Pendulums are great for muscle testing.
Interesting.
So there's so many different things you can do with them. But yeah, you can also communicate with angels and spirits with them. So yeah, they're really interesting. A lot of people have this fear that if you use pendulums, you'll attract spirits that are potentially dangerous, kind of like the same fear people have with Ouija boards. I've never worked with a Ouija board before, but with pendulums, my understanding is that they work with what's already near you. So you're not really calling anything forward. You know, nothing bad's going to happen to you from working with what is essentially a chain and a rock on the bottom. Like, that's not scary.
Right.
You know?
But they have those pendulums boards too. So
the pendulum boards, yeah.
Yeah. Have you used those at all?
I have. And that was the first time I realized that my pendulum likes to lie to me because it was just spelling rubbish. So I was like, is this a German spirit? What is happening? So,
hey, don't knock it. That's happening.
It could be. That could always be.
yeah.
We're taking a pendulum board to Ireland. Nicole, I wanted to show you mine. This is my, where is it at? Can you see it? Yeah. Mine is ash. And then it has the skull as the anchor to it.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Cool.
With the copper point to it. This bad boy knows its shit. Okay.
See, if I knew we were doing, if you show me yours, I'll show you mine. I would have had them here.
I know, right? Yeah, the PG version of it. I have a question for you, Nicole.
Okay, I probably have an answer.
I think you do. I'm
Okay.
only asking.
Back to you, Vanessa.
Thank you. Because it was yelled in my head. I have to ask because it was yelled in my head. What is the significance of your placement of your candles?
The significance of the placement of my candles?
Yes.
I don't know.
Which
candles?
They're saying the way that you place your candles when you're doing a reading or when you're doing something along those lines, that there is a significance into the number of it and the placement of it.
That's interesting because I just started using multiple candles, and I'll use I typically use 3. I don't know why I use 3. I guess, you know, it just seems
power of
my
3
spirit. So and recently I started getting more contemplative about like when I do rituals through candle spells.
Yeah.
And so I just became more aware of how using specific materials and herbs is the building blocks that spirit needs to manifest things into physical form. So it's like there has to be, I would get, I guess, a physical offering of some sort. Okay. So not like a virgin or some shit like that. Like, just, you know, just like your herbs or whatever you're going to
exist anymore.
You know, whatever. Yeah. Chicken, whatever you can get.
Yeah.
But it has to have that, it has to have something to come into physical form. And so the 3 candles just make sense because it's body, mind, and spirit. And as far as the placement, you know, I don't really think too much about that. But now that you brought it up, I guess I almost make it look like Mickey ears because I'll have the 1 here and then the 2 on the side. And yeah, I don't. So the way that I'll place it is whatever I feel I want to be in the forefront, like whatever's most important, almost like the foundation of the spell is what I'll put in front. And then what's like behind the scenes that would make everything come together is what I'll put in the back. And it is funny because I hadn't really thought of that until you just brought that up. I'm like, oh, I did that twice last week and I just started doing it. So
yeah, and it wasn't me that brought it up. It was literally yelled in my head.
Okay, well, whoever yelled it in your head, I guess they wanted to know this.
They wanted to know. I don't think they wanted to know. I think they wanted you to verbalize.
Put it together.
Yes.
It was actually probably my grandma. She's like, what is she doing? Ask her this.
I know it sounds really crazy, but she's way more supportive than you think.
My grandma?
Oh, well, good.
Oh, good.
So
because both of them were Christians, so they, you know.
That's interesting. Then
there's Christians, and then there's Christians, and
that's true. Yeah. That is true.
In her mind, she understood the less than normal better than people gave her credit for.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay, so we have We have some questions coming in from the chat as to how a lot of these different things work. So this one from Randy. Does the stone of the pendulum have to have specific properties that correspond with the questions you are asking, or does it not matter? Just use what calls to you.
It does not have to be specific, but it can be helpful. Can be very helpful. So if you know that you're going to use your pendulum for something specific, for example, maybe you have a pendulum that you want to use for healing, you might want to get like a crystal quartz or something that's known for being able to amplify those healing energies. And if you want something that's going to be more for protection, you might want a pendulum that has a black tourmaline at the bottom. So, there is some benefit to thinking about what it is that you're using it for, and maybe assigning a specific topic or theme for that pendulum. And it's been a while since I've worked with different pendulums, but now that this question was asked, I do remember a time where I did have different pendulums for specific things. And it does seem like when you give them specific assignments and use them only for that, they do seem to work better instead of making them the jack of all trades. So yeah, that's a really good question.
Okay.
By the way, hi, Shauna. I've been meaning to say hi to you while leaving. Hi.
Nice. That's awesome. Our chat shenanigator, Shauna. This is from Leslie.
I walked away for 2 seconds.
I did walk away for 2 seconds to grab my ghost tarot deck. So, but we have a question here about tarot cards from Leslie Fear, asking, how do tarot cards work? Is it simply what card the person turns over? Does it have to do with what spirits/universe wants you to know? Are they also a future prediction indicator? So I guess
is that for me or is that for
Vanessa?
You got two tarot card readers here. I don't know.
That's you, love. That's you. You go.
Well, you're the guest, so yeah.
All right. I got
Although
this.
Vanessa could probably answer it, but you're the guest, so yeah.
So that's a great question. And the answer is really kind of all of the above. So you can use tarot to work with spirit. You can use tarot to work with your angels. It's just a tool. So the best way to look at tarot, and really any divinatory tool, is to think of it as your telephone to the other side, or cell phone or smartphone or whatever lingo you want to use. So before you work with your cards, you may want to make the intention not just on what you're going to ask, but who you want to connect with. So do you want your angels influencing the card? Do you maybe want to work with your higher self? Like, who is it that you want to connect with? And if you're open to any divine source that wants to guide you, then you can just make that your intention as well. So I think that sometimes people overthink these things. And once you consecrate your cards and you just, pray over them and you make it your intention that it's to be accurate and used for truth and the light, it really doesn't matter, at least in my opinion, who's working with the cards with you, so long as the answers are accurate and helpful. So.
Awesome.
I'm going to agree with that. I have to admit, I wing it. I wing it. I'm just like, all right, I'm going to pull you bad boys out. Tell me what you're going to tell me.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely 100% right. At any given point in time, every single one of those categories can be covered during a single reading.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm like you as well. Just really, 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 if you're going to do them, don't be a dick. Okay. don't try to be manipulative or vindictive when you're doing it. Try to be truthful and give proper information.
Yeah.
And don't change it because you don't like the information you have to give.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then one of the things too about being a tarot card reader, I do my best, like tarot. Well, let's start with this. Tarot does not have the best bedside manners anyway. So as a reader, you want to be very mindful in how you are speaking the truth of tarot, because most of the times when people come to you for a reading, they are facing a significant challenge, and the underlining message is they're really asking you if things are going to be okay. I mean, that's what they want to hear. And so when you have a message that comes up and it says otherwise, I feel like it's so important to get that point across, but also to be as compassionate as possible and sometimes tarot will give you a loophole. And by that, I mean, it'll show you like, hey, this is where the energies are going now. But if you want a different result, here's a possible avenue you can try. So it's really important to learn all the ins and outs of the deck that you work with, because every deck's a little different. And just really know how tarot speaks to you and develop really your own language and how you're going to work with other people and deliver messages. So.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
I mean, I haven't looked at a book in years.
Yeah.
It's the way that I do it. I do a voodoo reading of 9 cards, and they tell me which ones to turn over. The same 9 cards could be totally different readings for 3 separate people.
Oh yeah.
Because of how they turn them over.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, how they have me turn them over, because I do it on the phone.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. I used to work with a girl, and she made the mistake one time of saying this, but I remember it, and it fits so well. It's not what you says, it's how you says it. You know, yes. And that is the truth. That is the truth. It's all in the delivery. You can still get the message across without being an asshole.
Yeah. Mike, would you like to interpret those cards for us?
I have no idea. No idea. Well, yeah, I'm giving, showing some examples of, cards. And so
I thought you were doing a reading for us.
No, we're not doing a reading at all. No.
Okay, no, but Mike, do this though. Okay,
what?
Shuffle those cards real quick.
Okay.
Shuffle them 3 times.
I will tell you this, something that's interesting, because I had somebody pulled for me the other day while I can't remember now if it was in Rhode Island or last week. Everything's a blur, but and they thought that this was kind of interesting with me. So I shuffle, and then I just kind of spread them all out, and I hover my hand over them, and I'll pull the card when I feel like it's like a little cool breath of air.
There you go. That's your way. Roll with it.
Okay.
Okay. Shuffle them 3 times.
Shuffle them 3 times? Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
So for those of you tuning in, we're giving Mike a live tarot lesson.
Here we go.
Exactly right.
Our little boy's growing up.
Oh no, it makes Mama so proud. What I want you to do, shuffle them 3 times.
Okay, that's one.
Fan them out in a straight line.
Oh, I remember what it was. It was the Southern Gypsies when I was in Kentucky a few weeks ago.
Cool. Well, I can't see the cards, so.
Okay, I've shuffled 3 times.
When fan them out.
Fan them out. All right.
And hover your hand over the deck, and when I tell you to pull, I want you to pull 3 cards. When I tell you
like
to pull
the 3 that are next to each other, or
nope.
Okay, just
let me know when your hand's hovering.
Okay,
and
my
Nicole,
hand's
you're
hovering.
going to read these cards.
All right.
Now, hover again.
It's 1. Okay.
Now.
Okay.
Last time. Now.
All right. Here we go.
First to last.
First to last. Okay. So this is Tom McNicholas with a $5 super chat. Happy birthday, Mike. Vanessa, have a great trip, and don't forget to get my rock. Nicole is wonderful. So, all right. First card.
So we're just doing random readings. I can't see that.
Yeah.
What does it say?
It's the 2 of Swords.
2 of Swords. Okay, interesting. Let's see. What's the next one? I want to see.
Next one is 9 of, I don't know what they all are. Staffs? Is that one?
Knight of Wands.
9 of Wands.
Wands.
Swords and 9 of Wands. Okay.
Is it a wand? I guess it looks like he's holding a staff. That's why I said that. But
yeah.
I guess that would be a wand. Okay. See how little I know?
That's okay.
All right. And then, that's 4 swords.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So that's a really interesting reading. So I wonder who this is for, because I feel like someone else that's watching this, I think it's going to resonate with them. So the 2 of Swords, I couldn't really see those images very well. So Two of Swords in the Rider Tarot is usually a woman who's blindfolded. She's sitting on a bench in front of a lake, and she's got two swords crossing over her.
Yeah,
and
she's
actually,
blindfolded.
I can see that a little bit. So
yeah,
she's got two swords holding up too.
Yeah, she's blindfolded, okay. And she's kind of hovering over the water. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that works too. So to me, this is someone whose defenses are up, but they're not seeing things clearly because they're wearing a blindfold. And we see this is a good representation for people who are maybe facing the dark night of the soul, or they're depressed, or they're in a really heavy and emotional situation where they can't think their way through it, but they're really defensive. So you can come to their rescue, but they're probably going to cut you, because they've got their swords up. So I would say that I think there's probably someone watching this who's going through that situation where they're wanting to help someone, but that person that they're wanting to help, that they're wanting to rescue, is not able to see things clearly. So whatever perception it is that you're trying to change, they're not going to be able to hear that. They're not at that level of understanding right now. So they're in self-protection mode. So that's what I'm getting from that.
Okay. Just for clarification, Zippy, no, they're not holographic. They're just cool. Like the Haglin says, they're badass.
Badass.
That's the official quote for this deck.
So see why I was drawn to the deck, though,
It's beautiful.
Okay, so the other one's it?
The other one was the Nine of Wands.
Yeah, Nine of Wands. That's this one.
So throw that one up. I'm going to see if I can see that one a little bit better. Because in my mind's eye, I'm thinking of the Ten of Wands, and I'm actually like drawing a blank as to which one the Nine of Wands is. You just became very small on my screen.
Uh-oh.
Damn you, Mercury! So
I'm telling you.
So I can't.
Yeah, I can't put it up that close because it goes out of focus.
Now it's blurry.
But if I go here, then it's like too small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure your audience is having so much fun.
Oh, I know. It's basically
Nicole is blind.
Yeah, it's like a knight standing in front of a castle, and he's holding the wand, almost like a staff.
So to me, that would represent the way that you're explaining that would represent someone standing their ground. So when we combine that with the Two of Swords that we just had, the message may be that this person who's close to you that isn't seeing things clearly, you need to be able to stand your ground with them, because they may be trying to push you away. There's just something that they're probably not being particularly nice, and they may be doing this on purpose. They may not be. But your job is actually to sit through this through thick and thin, because it is going to break through eventually, but don't let them chase you off. So just stand your ground with this person. It doesn't mean you have to argue with them. You're not going to play that kind of game. You're standing still and just like, okay, well, if that's how you feel,
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then the other one is the Four of Swords.
The Four of Swords. So this is, it looks like a coffin. It looks like a death, but this is actually about resting. So this is a time to also rest. And so like we were saying, you'll stand your ground, but you're not necessarily engaging. You're not necessarily fighting back. You're not necessarily talking back. You're not necessarily doing anything. You're just allowing yourself to be there. So I also see this as surrendering to that situation, just surrendering to whatever is happening between these two people. So you're not actively trying to change the outcome. You're not trying to change this person's mind. You're just allowing the situation to play out. And a lot of times when we do give ourselves permission to just surrender and allow things to be, they do work themselves out. So I feel like the universe or angels or whoever's working with this deck is just giving people permission to just surrender. You don't have to change things, just allow them to be. So it's going to work out.
You also have to remember in situations like this where even if you want to help, even if you want to engage, even if you want to come to the rescue, it is not your job to interrupt somebody else's karma.
Right.
Right.
Well said.
Thank you. Because we all have it, and we have it for a reason. There are lessons to be learned.
Right.
There are rewards to be gained. And if somebody is always intervening, those lessons aren't learned and those rewards aren't gained.
Right.
And growth does not happen. So
Join
rest.
us next week when Vanessa and I start our own tarot podcast. Who needs Mike?
Yeah. Who needs me? Who needs me? Hey, I could be the one that draws the cards. Put me to.
You could. That was very useful. Good job.
That would be.
You're our Vanna White of cards.
Thank you.
Oh, there we go.
Going there. That was awesome.
So I'm just curious, like, is anyone in the chat, like, can anyone tell us if this resonated with them? It's probably more than one, if I had to guess.
Let's see. So.
Actually, me.
Okay.
Well, that's great.
I know the exact situation.
Oh, good.
So, and it was pretty spot on.
Good.
Awesome. So it was for you. Well, you are the one that told me to stop when you had my hand hovering. Okay.
I did it
so
for
it turned out to be for you. Cool.
Yeah. I feel deceived into giving a free reading. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
How much money you want, love?
None.
I got you, boo. I got you. Okay.
So we do have some questions that came in during that about the cards, and there were some other ones beforehand. We'll get back to those. But this is from Don. Interesting question. Do you believe if a person steals your tarot cards that bad energy will follow them?
No. I wish it would, but no, I don't.
It's just kind of bad karma, though, right? Just to steal in general, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's bad karma, but and if your cards are really attached to you and they want to come back, they may just like, every time the person uses that deck, maybe they'll get like the 10 of Swords or Death or something that'll scare them.
Nice.
But overall, like, I don't think anything bad will.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna levitate and do something weird, like.
Gotcha. Okay.
Come on, man.
Now, like one of those, they steal the deck, car accident, or yeah. Okay.
Not that I've ever heard of before, but that sounds like it would make a fantastic movie.
It would. This is from B3 Airspace. Where do you find your decks?
Amazon, garage sales, spiritual shops.
Yeah.
Etsy, eBay, wish.com. All sponsors.
I got this from It's Raining Zen. So there you go. It's Raining Zen, downtown Alton, Illinois. So
I tell you what, Nicole, I will make you a deal since I tricked you into a 3-card reading. I'm designing a tarot deck.
Oh, are you?
You'll get the first one.
Ooh, nice.
Very cool.
How about
Very
that?
cool. All right. And it's got to be autographed.
Yes.
Okay.
It has to be, of course. Of course.
Has to be.
So, before that, yeah, unless you have something specific that you want to get into, we had some questions from before we did the tarot reading. Okay. This is a interesting one from Zippy Davis. So Zippy asks, just so I can figure out how to ask, is Nicole a Christian and answers through God, or is she answering in what she believes in?
I don't consider myself a Christian. I believe in universal energy. I believe the universe is very neutral. I believe in the potential of multiple gods and multiple universes and multiple everything. So I don't know that what I connect with is what I would call God. But to be fair, that's also because I have a very bad connotation and idea of what God is due to my upbringing. So for me, I'll refer to what most people would consider God as the divine source or the universe or something like that. So I gave God a name change so I could, continue to communicate with him or her. So I would say I don't feel I connect with the Christian version of God, but I do connect with the divine, with what I believe is more universal.
So a higher power.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. This one was actually about the cards from Nichelle Thompson. How do you consecrate your cards?
Can pray over them. Vanessa, what do you do?
Personally, for me, I don't always do that. I've actually walked out of the store with a mini tarot deck right away, went to the restaurant, read for a friend because she asked me to.
Yeah.
But for the most part, my cards are very specifically for me. I embed my energy on them. nobody touches them.
Yeah.
So, and that is really important to me. I will put them out during a full moon. I may anoint with oil. I just make very sure that whenever I'm handling my cards, that my energy is as pure as it can be. And that seems to keep them pretty loyal.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so.
I drank coffee over mine.
You go. I'm not surprised. That sounds about right, actually.
That's about right for me in any case. But,
yeah.
I can see you baptizing your cards in coffee.
Well, no, you just you take the deck, right, and then just over the top, and there we go. Yeah.
I could feel the power of that. Oh my God.
Right. Coffee power.
Yes.
From Leslie Fear, totally curious with good intentions. If you're a psychic, why would you need tarot cards? Are they just for a different perspective or message from whomever you need to hear from?
That's a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have found is that tarot cards can blend beautifully with your intuition. And sometimes when you're tuning into something intuitively, there's gaps in the story. And so tarot does a beautiful job of blending the story together. Depending on what deck you're using, the different cards all have different images on them. And what those do is they work with your intuition so that you can open up that story better and explain what it is that you're feeling. Because when you're working with intuition, and that means different things to different people, but one of your clairs, or maybe all of them, are lighting up. So you may be clairvoyant, but maybe your clairaudience isn't working well. So you might be missing words that are important to the message. Or vice versa, it might be that you're clairaudient, but your clairvoyance is blocked. And so the cards provide you with images so you can go into deeper detail and dive further into that topic and into that answer and provide more information.
That's a very good way to put that, for giving you a base.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, when people are asking about a situation, because in psychic readings, people normally want to know about the present situation that they're in now or something happening in the future. And tarot is actually really good at showing you the origin point of how you got here. And I think that can be really important for a reading, because every experience we have, we can learn from it. And if we don't pay attention to what the beginning of that story is, we might keep repeating that same pattern over and over again. So it just gives you more to work with, more to play with, more information. And no matter how intuitive I get, I always enjoy returning to tarot, and even Lenormand, which is another form of divinatory cards. So yeah.
I find that tarot helps you filter out the daily bullshit, because we all have a certain level of intuitiveness. All of us do. But when Mike knows, he'll call me on the phone or message me when I'm driving or something like that. What do I get? And I can give it to him. But if I'm able to sit down and focus on something that takes all of the static away, I'm so much better.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what tarot does, is it gets rid of the static.
Yeah.
It gets rid of all the unnecessary BS of the day so that I can give the full message to the person who needs it the most.
Yeah. Well, one of the things too that I don't think a lot of people think about is our cognitive mind is always trying to block what our subconscious mind is wanting to say. And so if you can give your cognitive mind a job to do, it allows your subconscious to become louder. So for those people watching who maybe aren't interested in tarot or just don't have time to learn it, the other thing they can do to wipe out that background noise, or that, the thinking that their frontal cortex is running through, is you can draw as you're giving a reading. That works really good. So doodling, writing, journaling. So whenever you're giving your conscious mind something else to do, it really opens up that doorway for everything else to channel. So I think that's another reason why tarot is so powerful, is because your mind, now your conscious mind and your subconscious mind are working together, because your conscious mind is like, what's the story here? You know, because
Exactly.
our minds love stories and they hate loopholes. They hate gaps in the story. So when you can work with something that keeps that mind busy and puts the story together, it just flows a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
We're so
Absolutely.
smart, Vanessa.
I know, right?
Found it.
Boom!
That's
Give us
awesome.
another one, Mike.
That's awesome. All right. From Trucker David Y. No, I could actually answer this one, but I'll let you guys answer it. From Trucker David Y. Can you do readings on yourself, or is it harder to do?
I think, Mike, that you should actually do this one, because I feel like I've been a Mike hog this whole time. Ta-da-ta.
Boom!
I mean, you can do tarot card readings on yourself. I mean, that's... And Shauna actually answered it down in the chat room as well, that that she only draws on herself. And that's really how you start learning, is you just start drawing on yourself. You get used to the cards and learn what they are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, I answered that
suck
question.
at reading
All right.
myself. Just telling you. So,
Hey, we have a $10 super chat that just came in from Randy Lewis. Thank you very much, Randy. Absolutely appreciate that. From Nichelle Thompson, this is from earlier in our conversation. Does Nicole use all white candles, or does she use a multicolored candles like red, black, or any of? And I think it got cut off, but
I use tons of different colors. So I have green ones right here, and my browns and my pinks, and I've got white ones around here too. So yeah, I use I'm a very colorful person. I like having different colors, and plus different colors I find help you to focus on what it is you want to bring in. So like green is good for wealth or health. Pink is great for love or kindness or compassion. Yellow is great for maybe if you're wanting to work on your confidence and you're someone who likes to stay in the background, you like to stay small, and you're working on courage and confidence. Yellow and orange are wonderful for that, because they're like big and bright. So I think it's important to look at the color of the candles and ask how it resonates with you, because the color of the candle, it's really your intention. So as you're working your ritual, as you're working your spell, or whatever it is you want to call it, it just adds an extra oomph to your intention. So that's why I think colors can be really, really powerful with colored candles can be powerful in spells.
okay, very cool. But it really all comes down to intention at the end of it.
So yeah.
Okay. This one is from Magic Blubber. Love the name, Magic Blubber.
Right.
How long have you been using pendulums for healing work? Have you ever took on healing a global or massive scale trauma, or do you only work with clients?
Actually, when I first started working with pendulums, I started working with healing right away. So it was the very first thing I did about, God, I think it's been about 10 years already. So that was the first thing I did. I started working with chakras. And then I had a friend who was actually very, very ill. And she was having a lot of physical issues. And so around the same time that those started showing up for her, I was also learning Reiki. So I was having fun combining Reiki with the pendulums, and just noticing the difference. And not so much for her, not so much the physical aspect, but her ability to deal with it. So like her attitude and her mental, I guess you could say, well-being during this difficult transition that she was going through. But no, I've used them for worldwide issues. Like, I mean, it's been a while since I've done this, but sometimes when there is a tragedy that happens that affects all of us on a global level, I would go to Facebook and do a Facebook Live or something where we can all come together and use whatever healing modalities work best for us. So at that same time, some people might be praying. I might be holding my pendulum over a map of that area. And there's just, there's so many different ways you can work with that. So So yeah, so I guess the short answer to that question is yes. I have used healing, pendulums to heal a lot of different things. And I don't know if heal's the right word for something like that. More like bring comfort, bring aid, bring understanding, bring emotional clarity. Because obviously, when a tragedy happens, you can't really heal from that overnight. Like, it doesn't matter what herbs or whatever you call in. People need time to process that. And so I feel like that's what prayer and penduluming and all these different things do, is they help people to process and to accept and to hopefully feel the compassion and love that people are pouring out to them.
Well, what do you think about that on a global scale, that a large number of people being able to shift positively or negatively the overall world energy, or maybe even just of a large locale?
I think that there's power in numbers. So when you have a lot of people focusing on one thing, it definitely shifts the energy. But if you're one person that's conscious against the psyche of like 1 million people and they're all thinking negatively, like that probably isn't going to work very well. But if you have just like 20 or 30 people who are very conscious and they're putting out a specific intention against those who are maybe blinded, they may be negative, but if they're not conscious in their intentions, then I believe the smaller group that is very attentive can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I believe that. I agree with that. From Michelle Thompson, should you meditate before using your tarot cards, or does that matter?
I never do. That just seems like, I don't know if I'd have time for that. I will take a few deep breaths just to kind of get centered, but no, I don't meditate.
No,
I don't meditate before most anything I do.
The biggest thing to remember when you're doing quite a few tarot readings, give yourself a pee break.
Oh, yeah.
In between. Don't schedule back to back. Just trust me on this.
Yes.
I'll keep that in mind.
Please do.
Hey, we have a
about to open his professional tarot reading business, guys.
That's right. Hey, we have a $10 super chat from Kaylee CC, who says, when there's a moment, I want to say a quick thanks to Vanessa for her tips to find some of my misplaced jewelry. Much good vibes.
Yay! Thank you. Woohoo!
Good job.
I did my best.
Awesome. Robert Hanna is wondering, Nicole, if you're open to using Ouija boards at all, even though you said you haven't.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Because, I mean, there was a time when I was like, I would never touch tarot cards. I would never do a spell. So, I mean, if I was... It would really depend on who I was doing it with, because I wouldn't do it by myself. I'm too, afraid of them. But if I was there with people that I trusted and it was in a location that had a good energy, yeah, I would try it. I'm usually down to try anything at least once. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've known a lot of people that actually just use them for regular spirit communication, just like I guess a paranormal investigator, we use an audio recorder, but some people do use Ouija boards. And I think, again, it comes down to intent and knowing how to use it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I would never do it on my own first. I feel like
Right.
I have way too many issues around this thing.
And opening and closing the sessions properly.
Right. Yeah. See, and I don't know anything about that. So.
Right. Which I think is where the kids get in trouble with, is marketed as a game. They are having a slumber party or whatever, and they don't know how to properly use it, and they get into trouble with it. So
yeah.
So this is from Shauna. Hello, my love. What is Nicole's opinion on the difference between oracle and tarot cards, and which does she prefer?
Ooh, I like that question. So oracle cards are just amazing because, I mean, really, you can use them for anything. So they're always going to be different. So your angel oracle is going to be different from your conscious spirit oracle, is going to be different from the green world oracle. So the biggest, I guess, challenge with those is that they're not uniformed like tarot is. Like if you pick up Rider Waite or the Witch's Tarot, Wizard's Tarot, or Illuminati Tarot, or Mike's Ghost Tarot, the meaning of the cards will all pretty much be the same, even if the images are slightly different. Whereas with oracle cards, of course, they're all over the board. They can mean anything. I love working with oracle and tarot cards together. And so one of the things that I'll do, if a client comes to me and they want a general reading, I'll pull an oracle card first to see what the theme should be for that reading. So I'll pull an oracle card first, and it might say something like the root chakra or confidence or whatever it is. And then from there, I'll pull different cards from the tarot to see what the message is regarding that theme. So I don't think I have a preference because they're useful for different things. Oracle cards usually tend to be very, very positive. And tarot is like, I don't care what you want to hear. Here's the truth of the situation, But they can both be great for advice or for meditative aids. But yeah, so I mean, I like them both equally. They just have different functions. So, what does Shauna prefer between the two of them?
That's a good question. What do you prefer, Shauna? I think she'll probably say oracle. We'll see what she says down below. So there's some other interesting questions coming in about types of cards that you use. So now this is interesting, and I don't know if you can. I suppose you probably could, but from Betty Lange, have you ever used a playing deck of cards for a reading?
Yeah.
You can do a reading with a playing card deck?
Yeah, because Lenormand deck is numbered after playing cards.
Oh,
so
okay.
There's some memorization that has to happen, and it's been a while since I've done that. In fact, I have a Lenormand deck right here, so I'll give you a quick example. So on this one, this is the dog, and you'll see on the bottom right here it has the 10 of hearts. Can you see that? So that's so if you were going to use a deck of playing cards, the 10 of hearts would represent, the 10 of hearts would represent the dog in Lenormand, and then this is the ace of spades, so that represents the lady, and then just one more. So ace of hearts represents the gentleman. So yeah, you can absolutely use playing cards for divination.
Wow. Okay.
Or for poker. Just saying.
You could, yeah, you really could. From Fran Molino, do you work with animal spirit guide cards?
Yeah, I have before. I'm trying to see if I have any here, but I don't have any here. But yeah, I have before. So many of my cards are in storage right now, which like breaks my heart. But I'll be looking like, where's that deck? Oh, it's in storage.
And Shauna has answered your question, Nicole.
I don't know where in storage they are.
Oh no.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Shauna has answered your question. She says, I prefer oracle cards because they are more personal.
You are right. If this was the newlywed game, you guys would nail it.
Awesome. Tracy Christian asks, has a tarot reading ever been wrong? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of reasons a reading can go wrong. It can go wrong when someone's playing Test the Psychic. It can go wrong when someone who is psychic is sending energy to your deck and influencing the outcome because they want it to say something specific. It can happen when the tarot reader is sick and maybe their energy is low or their mind is somewhere else. So I mean, the tarot reading can be wrong, but it's rarely ever tarot's fault. Although I do kind of have this theory that tarot cards get tired. So if you overwork them, I think sometimes they get to this point where they'll just tell you anything. They're like, look, bitch, get off my back. We've been working since 7. Okay, back off. But yeah, so they can be wrong. In most cases, though, I think that what actually happens is that we interpret the cards wrong. I think that's more likely what happens. I think we can interpret the cards wrong. And if someone isn't being completely honest in the question that they're asking, we're limited in how we are reading the story and even what our intuition is telling. So if you have someone that's not being completely honest with you, in the situation or whatever it is they need guidance in, then that can seem as if it's affecting the cards too.
Okay. Makes sense. Vanessa, we're getting down toward the end of the show. Do you have anything else before we start wrapping it up?
No, I'm good. This has been great. 'Cause I love hearing somebody else's viewpoint on all of this. And don't forget our new YouTube show. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do that.
We'll take this
I
last.
don't think the world is ready.
Yeah, probably not. Oh, that would be cool though. I'd definitely be in on that. It'd be a lot of fun. So last one here we'll take from Zippy. Do you ever get people that want readings that think that, wait a second. Do you ever get people that want readings that think they're fake and are just trying to push your buttons?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It doesn't happen too often now because it's not cheap to get a reading from me. So to be quite frank, but that used to happen a lot. Yeah, it used to happen a lot, but not so much anymore. So
kind of weed some of those people out.
Yeah. If you're gonna play test the psychic, you're gonna pay.
So where can everybody find you? You have the Guiding Echoes YouTube channel, so
yes,
you can go there, and then you have your website as well, right?
I do. It's guidingechoes.com. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm most active on YouTube, and I am obsessed with the community tab on YouTube. I am posting random shit there all the time. I'm surprised that people haven't unfollowed me there, but they haven't. That's actually the best way to just like see the playfulness and get involved with just like the silly things that I post. But I'm most active on YouTube, and so my website is guidingechoes.com. You can go there to learn more about me, or if you do want a reading, you can order a reading through there. So yeah.
Very cool. Very good. And how often are you uploading videos right now on your channel?
I kind of took a break in July because life decided it wasn't going to let me upload anything. So I was like, all right, I guess this is what we're doing. But typically I have new videos on Mondays and Thursdays.
Okay.
So I'll be getting back to that in August.
Mondays and Thursdays. Very cool. Check it out, everybody. Nicole Guillaume, Guiding Echoes. Really appreciate you being on with us this evening. It was very enlightening and entertaining, to say the least. So
it was fun. Yeah. Well, thanks for being here while Vanessa and I chatted.
Yeah, I did, and I ran and got the ghost cards.
Yes, you did.
So usually at this point of the show, Nicole, we do our shout outs and all that. You're welcome to stick around, or you can go ahead and take off if you have something that you need to go do.
This is too fun. You're not.
This is too fun. All right. Nicole's sticking around for the shout outs. All right. This will probably be where the